Tamil Nadu has built a strong reputation as one of India's leading industrial states. It attracts investments, expanding manufacturing, and strengthening its position in global value chains. At the same time, there's also the question of how industrial growth has translated into broad based inclusive development, which remains central to policy debate. As economic conditions evolve, the challenge is to also ensure that growth is not only sustainable but also widely shared across several parts of the state, sectors, and communities. Our next session is with Dr. TRB Rajaa, Minister for Industries and Investment Promotion. I want to start by asking you, you set a vision for the state 5 years ago. How much of that have you been able to achieve?
Honorable Chief Minister had a very clear vision of what Tamil Nadu needs. From day one, it's been inclusive, distributed growth. Right? It's never been about the number of investments. It's never been about showing other states or other countries the amount of investments that have come in. It's always been about jobs. Right? Jobs, inclusivity in jobs, and distributed growth for Tamil Nadu, every single corner of Tamil Nadu. In fact, when he spoke just a while ago, he also mentioned how everybody in Tamil Nadu has been taken along in this growth story, and how every single part of Tamil Nadu, including the tier 2, tier 3 towns, have grown like ever before. So this growth was possible because of his clarity of thought, and what he wanted. Just a few days ago in the assembly, in the Tamil Nadu assembly, he said when he took over, he felt he was questioning himself if he could fulfill all these promises that he had given during the election and the manifesto promises. And he said he was extremely happy. He truly said that, and you could see that he was truly happy because it came from it was that soulful laugh, smile of his, and every one of us could feel that he was truly happy that he has achieved what he set out to do, and that is reflecting on the growth story of Tamil Nadu, which is now at 11.19% economically, while India is growing at 6% and no other state in India has a double-digit growth. That is the success story of the Dravidian model.
Right. Mr. Rajaa, talking about the economic survey, it talks about, it paints a rosy picture for India, but not so for the world, because, it says that there's an insecure world and there are fragile spots now. Can you tell us what has been the realistic impact of tariffs in Coimbatore and specifically Kongu Nadu on the manufacturing sector? And there have been efforts that the center has made. You have made a lot of efforts. Have those efforts been successful in sort of offsetting some of those impacts?
Those are two different questions, on the economic survey and then on the tariff effects itself. On the economic survey, I want to just put one thing out. We've always maintained that whatever Tamil Nadu says and the government says and whatever the Honorable Chief Minister says and whatever his cabinet says is based on facts. And most of these facts come from my friends in Delhi. So I don't know why my friends in Delhi keep questioning our facts, which are based on their statements. Now, if you look at the economic survey, it very clearly says Tamil Nadu is the number one place for manufacturing jobs, giving India 15% of its manufacturing jobs, and that's the number one state in India. This state works because of two things. It's good governance with the Dravidian model of politics, yeah? And the second part is people who are empowered, and they keep questioning us, right? And we listen. This is one leader through M.K. Stalin Avargal is one leader who is always on the ground, who's always got his ears on the ground, and he listens into people's feedback from the opposition too. And in fact, he mentioned that in the assembly, and he said he thanked the opposition leaders also for their criticism, for the criticism which is actually valid. And he's taken those inputs and he's converted them into growth. Tamil Nadu is one state which is extremely finicky, very choosy about its MOUs. As I said, numbers don't matter. It's the job numbers that matter. So because we choose MOUs which will convert, our conversion ratio is high, and we are at 83% for GIM 2024. So that percentile does not come easily. No other state comes close.
Mr. Raja, in that context, the mother of all deals, as the center calls it, India's FTA with EU, is that going to also help mitigate some of the impact? And in fact, they're saying that this could be beneficial for labor-intensive sectors, especially for garment manufacturers. Do you see any hope there?
I do see, yes, immediately, yes, it is important. We are looking at new markets, emerging markets also. But who are we kidding? I think the US is the biggest. I mean, the US is a humongous market, and I don't think we can just do away with them as easy. You can not just wish them away. We need to work better with them. We need to get that tariff issue sorted very, very quickly, and this is the fact.
Has this, I mean, I know the Chief Minister also wrote to the Prime Minister with regard to this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
What is the center, because this is largely a center's domain, right? How is the state trying to help with this?
Well, we've already helped, we've already had at least 3 rounds of discussions with sectors like the textile sector, right? We are one of the largest exporters, 28% of India's exports. And we've spoken to the textile exporters. We've given them incentives or subsidies to enable them come up with new tech to enable them to have better production. That is one intervention that we've given the textile sector. We are trying to add another intervention to the seafood sector, which is massively hit again, and we're providing them with new markets. This FTA with the EU is going to help the seafood sector a bit more. Now we're coming up with a processing unit on our own for the seafood sector on our coast. We're going to add one more processing center. A seafood park has been established now.
Right.
This was done looking forward into the future and looking at the effects of the US tariff itself. So
talking about learning from other states, we see Andhra Pradesh extremely aggressive in terms of, land deals, in terms of some of the projects like Google. Your opposition, and this time you have 2 big parties attacking you. One is the NDA Alliance, and the other, of course, is the TVK. And they say that this could be a political misstep or industrial, what do they say, lack of industrial diplomacies. So how do you look at some of these projects which Tamil Nadu has lost?
Tamil Nadu never loses anything. We've never lost anything. And first of all, we do not consider any state as a competition. We consider other countries as a competition. And I can tell you why. Because this state has proven that with consistent, proper, healthy efforts of ensuring quality jobs for its population and ensuring continuous policy tweaks, in line with world needs, we have been able to attract investments all across Tamil Nadu. It's not like we've just brought them to one city like Chennai. We've taken investments to Hosur. We've taken investments to Kovai. We've taken investment to the Delta region. We've taken investments to Thoothukudi, to Tirunelveli, to Kanyakumari. No other state can do this because we can do this because this infrastructure is actually real, right? It's not something which is AI driven like in many states, like in ruled by some particular party. But what we have done is real growth. And because of this infrastructural strength, we show the world, we show the investor that this is our strength. We play on our strengths and not on subsidy races, not the race to the bottom on giving incentives. That is definitely not what we're going to do. We are a very, very professionally run, healthy state. We're not going to try and mess up with our financial papers with a rat race to the bottom. No, we're not going to do that. We definitely not going to do that. There's absolutely no way we'll give you free land and, we're not a desperate state. We're not a desperate state. We choose and we know what we need and we're very clear about what our people need.
Dr. Rajaa, you've been passionate about semiconductors. A lot of these important announcements have come from the center on semiconductors. We know IT Madras is also working with the government. What is it that you expect Tamil Nadu to do? You speak a lot about R&D as well. Where do you see Tamil Nadu in the semiconductor progress of India?
Tell me, would you take a semiconductor investment to a state which has produced India's first indigenous semiconductor, or to a state which just has the money? To the state with 150,000 engineers coming out every single year, or to a state which is not even in the vicinity of being Tamil Nadu? Would you take semiconductor investments into a state which has policy stability and policy continuity? I'm sitting here. I know the leader of the opposition is going to come through today. I can tell you right here, sitting right there, with my chief minister also around. I can tell you openly that there will be policy continuity with any regime, and we've had policy continuity from the previous regime. We are going to load Dravidian model 2.0 anyway now. So what we are very clear about is, with all of this, any sensible, healthy, clean thinking union should actually choose a state where the investment thrives. Why should they do that? Only if an investment goes to a place where it can thrive, will the investor reinvest, right? And there will also be follow-up investments, because people will come into that place because they've seen India. It is India, right? If it's Tamil Nadu or any other state, it ultimately is India. And it's coming, it's foreign investment. So when a foreign investment comes and the foreign investor sees, and other foreign investors see investments thriving in that place, only then will they come in and invest more in that sector, right? So I personally think, I may be wrong, or the union thinks we are wrong, but I personally think they should have bet on the talent and the ecosystem that Tamil Nadu has. We are exporting 41% of India's electronics, and you want to take semiconductors away from us.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Rajaa. I think the CM set the tone, but you have taken this further. I think we'll all discuss this in the course of the next few sessions. Thank you so much for that engaging session.
I'm going to open by asking you, PTR Palnivel Rajan, when you say Dravidian model, is it taking credit for all that's going right in Tamil Nadu to create and fuel a political narrative? Or is there something truly unique about this Dravidian model? If there is, what are the aspects?
Going back, I'd like to say about 8 or 9 years, in this very hotel, we had a conclave, and we talked about the fact that Tamil Nadu in particular, but the South. So at the time, we talked about it, and I first mentioned it as a Tamil Nadu model because it was quite unique in its philosophy. And eventually, because it was relatively common to the rest of the southern states, it became called more of a Dravidian model. And it has stuck since then. And that's my first memory. Maybe my memory is not great, but that's my first memory of the Tamil Nadu model evolving to the Dravidian model that has now become the kind of catchphrase, if you will. So the question arises, you have different outcomes, or you have better outcomes. What is really driving these outcomes? And at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't think you can get these outcomes in 5 years or 3 years or 10 years or 20 years. I've been very clear that at the heart of this model, if it is such, is the notion of inclusion, equity, and access.
Well, the one original inclusive model known around the world was called the Kerala model, which overemphasized equity and sacrificed efficiency. Now, what you said is music to my ears, because you said equitable access to all, and which is very close to a quintessential Adam Smith model, that you want people to have the same opportunity and then let it go. Now, one of the problems I think that we face in India in general is that merit has been declassified and we don't pay enough attention to merit. This is a trade-off. It's a trade-off all societies have between merit and equity. So, one, I want to point out that there is no, let me be blunt, there's no Tamil Nadu model. There is a Kerala model, which has now been shunted aside. So let us look at what do you mean by equitable growth, inclusive growth, is basically what you enunciated, that there is equal opportunity people can gravitate towards where they are most productive, and the state will facilitate and help that. I don't think in India generally, and especially from the center, we can discuss that there is enough weightage given to both sides of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are 2-3 points there. So I don't really care what you call it. I don't need authorship to a model. The fact is that we are a unique state. The circumstances are unique. The politics are unique. The outcomes are unique, and they're spectacularly good compared to most benchmarks in other states. You want to call it a model? Don't want to call it a model? I'm not overly stressed. But the outcomes are spectacularly unique, whether you take it in per capita GDP, whether you take it in gross enrollment in tertiary education, whether you take it in multidimensional poverty index, whether you take it in doctors per thousand. Any number you take, any statistic you take, we have got spectacularly good outcomes. Call it whatever you want. Second, of course there's a trade-off, but part of the Kerala problem is that they are creating such great human resources with such little employment opportunity and economic activity that they have become a gross exporter of human capital to the world at scales where there is almost no kind of profile of a demographic. There are relatively only old people left in Kerala. All the young people have migrated to many parts of the world or many parts of the country. In that sense, the big difference between Kerala and Tamil Nadu, I would say, is that Tamil Nadu, in addition to doing relatively well in human development and social development, almost as good as Kerala, I agree in some ways we're not, but we continue to have an economic climate where we are able to draw investment in ways that other states are not. Let's just take the proximate example. In the last 3 years, our electronics manufacturing output has gone up 700%. One of the reasons that India's is up almost 60% is that Tamil Nadu's has gone up 700%. The biggest driver of that, of course, geopolitically, globally, is the move away from China. But locally is that we have the talent that is able to go and get employed in the tens of thousands in these factories, and also to actually have a reasonable economic climate of incentives and ease of doing business, etc. Now, going back to your last point, the trade-off between merit and pure merit and reservation to overcome historical inequalities is, of course, a complicated subject. But were we to err on one side or the other, we have to remember that we have only been an independent country for about 75 years, give or take, and all these legislations that I've talked about have only come out in about 100 years or so since 1920 Justice Party government, as opposed to centuries or potentially millennia of oppression and hierarchy. So I was the first guy to agree, and I agree now, that at the inception and probably for the first 2, 3 cycles, 5 cycles or 5 generations of reservation, you are going to get inefficient outcomes. You're going to get highly qualified people that are not able to make the cut because of the slice is too small, and less qualified people because of their historical disadvantages get access. But what it does in the long term, and this is vital, I think, for us, is that it creates in every community, in every village, in every society, in every caste, a forerunner. And so, other than outcomes, it's hard for me to say what should be the theoretical optimal line of trade-off of merit to reservation. But outcome-wise, I would say, if you look at the Tamil outcome, either in terms of within the state or internationally in the diaspora, I've just come from an opening of a think tank, where I made the point that if you look around the world, wherever the Indian diaspora is in reasonably strong positions, whether it's medicine, the law, engineering, technology, business, then Tamil Nadu, which is 5.6 or 5.8% of India's population, is probably represented 3x, 5x, 7x, between 20 and 30% of these expats in the top positions are of Tamil origin. So we have created an ecosystem where some get to go and do these wonderful things in other parts of the world, like Indra Nooyi or Sundar Pichai, but others get to stay and still have reasonable outcomes in a way that the weighted average outcome for 75 million people is good.
Thanks very much for sharing deep insights, both historic, economic, as well as social, as far as what we define as models. Who knows what models are, ultimately, as long as they work for the people. But thanks very much for speaking to us.